So this is a picture of one of our plants called the Caeté plant in the Minas Gerais state, if you're familiar to Brazil. Normal disclaimer. Okay, for those that are not very familiar to Jaguar, we are a mid-tier producer in Brazil. We have 3 complexes, and by complex I'm talking about at least 1 underground mine and a plant in the Minas Gerais state around the capital, Belo Horizonte. That's a very prolific greenstone belt in Brazil. Historically, it has produced over 50 million ounces of gold over the years. So the 3 complexes, one is in production, the Caeté complex, which has got the Pilar mine and the Caeté plant. The other complex is the Paciência one that has got the Santa Isabel mine and the Paciência plant. That's in care and maintenance since 2012, but now we are reassessing that for bringing back to production next year. And the third complex is the MTL or Turmalina complex, which has got the Turmalina mine and Turmalina plant. That complex was in production up to end of last year when we had an incident, a dry stacking pile slump. I'm going to talk about that a little bit further. But the idea is to bring it back to production again early next year. So for next year, we want to have all the 3 complexes in production. We are TSX listed. In terms of resource and reserve, we have around 1.7 million ounces of measured indicated resource, another 1.68 million ounces of inferred resource, both around the 3.8 to 5 grams per ton of head grade. And in terms of reserves, we have 764,000 ounces. We've been in production since 2002, so 20 years plus of consistent production from those assets. That's the team. I think Ron already introduced me. I'm the CEO of the company. I've been with the company now for 4.5 months. We have a very strong team with expertise of operating in Brazil. Recently, I also brought a VP of Sustainability. Juliana was, we worked together exactly in Paracatu for permitting the Kinross expansion. And that's important because we want to start permitting new assets as we go forward. And Armando is our chief geologist that is responsible for coming up with the 5-year exploration plan, which I'm going to detail as well. I encourage you to look and read about the biography of our board. We have a very good diversity of skills in the board. So between management and board, we think we are well prepared to take the company forward. So what's the strategy? The strategy is based in 3 pillars. The first pillar being to maximize our core assets. In other words, maximize the production from our current mines and plant. The second pillar is to leverage our exploration portfolio, is the 5-year exploration plan. And then the third pillar is going to be to pursue strategic opportunities, meaning M&A acquisitions in Brazil preferably. So let's detail about the first pillar, which is maximizing our current assets. Those figures are related to up to mid this year. We are disclosing the Q3 results by Thursday. So up to June, we had produced already more than 20,000 ounces from the Pilar mine, and we are on track to produce up to 40,000 at the end of the year. Turmalina, as I mentioned, we had an incident, a slump in the dry stacking pile back in December. And since then, that didn't cause any major issues, no victims or whatever. But we did have to deal with a nearby community that was affected. We had to reallocate them. Some will be able to come back, others don't. So we had to compensate for that. Also, we had to settle some environmental fines in a lawsuit that was put against the company. So overall, that cost us like 28 million US dollars. Payment for that, some amount is going to be due in the first year, but then the rest can be deferred up to 5 years. So in total, that's not going to affect our balance sheet. And we believe that this page is turned now for the company. What we are doing for coming back with Turmalina is to advance the closure of the Satinoco pile and obviously prepare a new area for future tailings and waste, which happen to have an open pit close by to the mine site, like 3 kilometers from the mine site. And that's what is going to be using for at least 2 years. And then we have already purchased a new area that's going to be good for the life of mine in terms of waste and tailings disposal. In the meantime, we managed to get the approval from the authorities to get back into the Turmalina underground mine. The Turmalina underground mine wasn't affected by this, but was also in suspension. And we started doing some preparatory work so that by the time the embargoes are lifted, by year end, we'll be able to start producing ore the next day. So we believe that we are on track to restart Turmalina in Q1 2026. In terms of growth profile for the production, as I mentioned, for this year, we're going to be producing around 40,000 ounces. Next year, when we have Turmalina back and then we restart Santa Isabel mine, we should almost double that, get to 70 to 75,000 ounces per year. And then in 2027, we start with a new project called the Onças de Pitangui project, which was an asset that was acquired by Jaguar back 3 years ago. It's very close to Turmalina, so that means that it's a greenfield project for the mine, but we don't need to build a new plant. The Turmalina plant can take that extra amount of ore, and that will bring an extra 42,000 ounces per year of production. So if you consider some ramp up for Onças de Pitangui, in 3 to 5 years, the idea is that we are going to go past the 100,000 ounces threshold of production and even get into 120, 130,000 ounces of gold production in 3 to 5 years. That's what we are talking about, maximizing our current assets and the first pillar of growth. Just a picture of the Onça de Pitangui site. Again, it's a greenfield project, 42,000 ounces of extra production, good metallurgy, 91% gold recovery. So that's the project that we're going to bring online in 2027. Let's talk about the second pillar, which is leverage our exploration portfolio. The map that you are seeing here is the Iron Quadrangle, which is a greenstone belt famous in Brazil for producing gold. That's actually where Vale started their iron business back in the day. Typically, you have open pit iron mines in there and underground gold mines. And in this map, you can see on the right side at least 2 world-class deposits. One is Morro Velho mine, which is now closed, but produced 11 million ounces. And the other one is the Cuiabá mine, which has produced already 10 million ounces and have more 10 to go. Both assets belong to AngloGold Ashanti, and we are neighbors to that. We have 46,000 hectares of mining properties in there. And if you can look carefully, you see that our targets are in the same geological lineament that we have these 2 world-class deposits. So the first question I made for our chief geologist when I got into the company was, why can't we find other world-class deposits in Jaguar's land? And his answer was, well, we have to do the work. And why haven't we done this work in the last 20 years? Because that's when Jaguar started. And well, the answer for that was that the exploration work was focused on the underground mines, existing ones, and they were successful. They did find the resource and reserves that we are still keep mining, but a systematic work, exploration work had never been done in this area. So that's what we are planning to do going forward. So what is the plan? That's the detailed plan. We have selected targets that we're going to start exactly this month and for the next 5 years. And the idea is that we're going to be drilling as much as 220,000 meters to target a gold endowment per year, every year, to try to find at least 1 million ounces of gold per year. So the total potential there in terms of endowment is between 4.5 to up to 8 million ounces of gold, which is going to triple our current resource base if we are successful, and we believe we will be. To give you an example of one of these targets is what we call the Chamé bulk target. Chamé is an open pit expression, so what you can see there is a footprint of 2 excavations. Those excavations are 250 years old, made by the Portuguese back in the colonization days. And of course, at that time, they were targeting high-grade material. So when the geologists get in there and take some chip samples from the bottom of those excavations, the grades that we got from that was between 1, 2, 4, up to 27 grams per ton of gold. Now, what makes it more interesting is that when they did then some trenches, those are 100-meter space trenches, they found out that there is a continuous mineralization, mind you, lower grade, between 0.4, 0.5, as much as Paracatu, but up to 1 gram per ton, which seems to be a kind of hydrothermal alteration halo in between and around these old excavations. When you put that all together and consider that that could be an envelope of mineralization, that's the kind of cross-section that they came up with, which shows that we could have an ore body conceptually of up to from 75 to 100 meters of true width. And the strike length of Chamé is up to 1 kilometer. If you do the calculations of the amount of material that you can have there and consider an average between the high-grade zones and the low-grade halo, that will be around 1 to 1.5 grams per ton. That could contain only in Chamé something like 1 million ounces, which is very exciting. That's why we are starting to drill that this month as we speak. And that's just a start. If this geological model can be proved, then we have lots of other targets in the same geological lineament. In total, in that area, we are talking about a strike length of at least 15 kilometers. So only in the Paciência complex area, we could find something like 2 to 3 million ounces of endowment. Okay, this is the Pilar mine. The Pilar mine is a typical banded iron formation within the greenstone belt. And what we can see is that down plunge, we can find more potential as well. We just put a news release regarding that yesterday. So what we can see there is what we are planning to do of directional drilling to test the down plunge of that mineralization. And just considering the ounce per vertical meter that we had in the upper levels, considering that the down plunge is going to continue, in that area we are estimating that we could find more 500,000 ounces in the Pilar mine. This covers the exploration pillar. And the third pillar that we are now considering for growing the company is to look for opportunities in Brazil, new projects that could potentially bring at least 100,000 ounces per year of production into our portfolio. We are considering some assets that are in discolored states in Brazil. And typically what we can find there is some advanced projects with 4301 reports on that, which are going under licensing. Licensing can be tricky in the country. We have 3 licenses there that we need to build a project, the LP, LI, and LO, LP being the hardest one to get. There are some projects that got LP, but got stuck between LP and the installation license. So the idea is to assess them, and if the conditions are right, we could then acquire one of them and get that into production. In that case, with our current portfolio of 100,000 ounces of production, plus a new project like that, we will be a company with 200, even 300,000 gold production. That will be a game changer for the company. So in terms of valuation, you can see that we're still trading at a discount of our peer group. So the train has left the station, but you can catch it if you're interested. And that's our shareholder ownership. We have Eric Sprott as the major shareholder. Eric has been a very good supporter for the company. We just gone through a financing, live financing, and he participated. We've been covered by Red Cloud, Ron, Research Capital, and Ventum, and that's what I have to tell you today.